Marriage counselors of Reddit. What's the stupidest reason a couple has made an appointment? My specialty is children and families, but during the pandemic I was assigned whatever came in because it has been super busy. One lady called and spoke with me first about how her husband was horrible at communication and never listened to her. She asked for a couples session. As soon as she ambushed her husband with a "there is a therapist on the line that wants to speak with you," her husband screamed, "You called a therapist because I don't want to paint the house purple." She wanted me to convince him to paint the house purple, and like any normal human who sees colors, he refused to listen to her. Had an argument with my mom because I wanted to paint my room purple. She said purple was for depressed people and old women. I'm a 17-year-old guy and just really like purple. A buddy of mine was in therapy with his wife. She told me later that my friend, let's call him Gary, has a drinking problem. Me, wait, what? Since when is Gary drinking? I never saw him drink alcohol. That's the problem. Oh Gary, I hope you are fine now. Edit. It seems like I worded it in a weird way. Her issue is that he doesn't drink. I work with a lot of kids, and I see far more stupid reasons that couples have not scheduled an appointment. Parents spill their guts while explaining what's wrong with their children, and 90% of the time it's the parents' marriage causing issues with the child/family. This is totally not a catch-all statement, because many children have true behavioral/emotional challenges separate from their parents' marriage, but at the same time, if you feel like your child is struggling and you have tried everything, maybe try marriage counseling. This is why my wife and I decided to not have kids. Both of our families have long histories of trauma and substance abuse. I myself have been sober for 20 years, after spending about 8 years badly strung out in my 20s. We are near 50 and are in a far healthier place than the first half of our lives, but even still we just didn't want to continue the curse. Nothing is really stupid in making the decision to come in for a couples session. But the most startling session I've had was when the couple had barely sat down and one of them informed the other that the relationship was over, turned to me and said thank you for supporting partner through this, and left the office. This very thing happened to my friend. He thought they were going to couples therapy to work on their communication. Less than 5 minutes into their first get to know you appointment, and she told him it was over. She thanked the therapist for being there for him and walked out. After walking out, she immediately changed her relationship status on FB and announced she was now dating some random dude and that she was divorcing my friend. He said that the therapist seemed just as shell-shocked as he was for the rest of the appointment. I only wish this happened to me. On our last vacation, due to all the yelling and poor treatment I was getting on that trip, I had already broken down crying at least 3 times. I said that we were going home early and getting a divorce. She had said it hundreds of times over the years, but this was my first time. Likely because of this, and the fact she didn't want to stop her vacation, she agreed to go to counseling. So when we came back, I spent a few days finding a good marriage counselor and then noted to them I would call them back to schedule a rolling weekly appointment. I asked my ex-wife what time was good for her each week. I would go anytime, take off work, whatever. She then said that she didn't have any time because she would be starting back up for graduate school and it wouldn't work for her. Then I knew we were done. I had tried so many things, and when she couldn't even be bothered, I knew she just said anything to get what she wanted. I still was not sure how to leave, because I was afraid, besides being emotionally abusive, she was physically as well. 3 weeks later she came home in the middle of the night completely wasted with a friend of hers. She attacked me again. Black eye and broken nose. With a witness, I called the police and have never seen her again besides in criminal and divorce court. I had a woman come in for couples counseling. Over the phone she reported that her boyfriend, with the same last name, very confusing, was distant and was refusing to listening. When the session started it was just her that showed up. She went on and on about how absent he was and how he refused to see the progress she had been making in her life. It turns out the boyfriend was an ex who had a restraining order against her and lived halfway across the country from her. She was delusional and was receiving treatment for her mental health issues. She just could not get her thinking away from him and legally changed her last name to his because it would mean they would be together. She figured couples counseling was the way to work out their relationship issues. Edit. Not sure this is the stupidest, but it is definitely the most bizarre reason I have had someone make an appointment. My uncle and his wife. Reasoning. She lost a frying pan. I can totally see this sort of thing coming up between my husband and I. He refuses to learn where anything in our kitchen lives. So if he unloads the dishwasher and doesn't know where something lives, instead of asking me, putting it to one side to ask later, etc., he just shoves it somewhere random. I spent a month looking for my spatula once. He denied point blank that he had touched it. Eventually I found it wedged under a sugar bag in my baking cupboard. He denied he'd put it there. We are the only 2 people in the house and I know the spatula lives in the goddamn fucking drawer with the other utensils. The argument on its face is about a lost spatula, but the reality is the fight is about why it went missing in the first place, and the subsequent denial of involvement in said loss. A lot of couples schedule counseling for legitimate reasons like communication issues, but then it will come out that the real reason is something stupid, and they don't even realize it. I had a couple married 25 years who were struggling to connect, and it turned out they were resentful of each other because they both wanted to spend various holidays with their families of origin. Never talked about it, never mentioned it, just both simmered in silent resentment for 25 years. It was resolved so quickly once it was unearthed. Another couple came in for parenting challenges. Told me very casually they hadn't had sex since their youngest was conceived. How old is your youngest? 13. Both were acting like it was completely normal and fine and unrelated. Turned out it was not normal and not fine and definitely related. Referred for sex therapy and heard the whole family happily graduated from therapy within months asterisk. Asterisk the entire family was seeking therapy with different counselors for different reasons, or so they thought. No, they were not doing family sex therapy. I can't believe I just typed family sex therapy. My cousin went to counseling because her husband cuts the sandwich straight inside of diagonal. When I first heard it, I thought it was a joke. My ex-coworker once told me about an argument he and his girlfriend regularly have. Apparently, when you make a sandwich, some people care about whether the bread remains facing the same way it did in the original loaf, or if one piece gets turned around relative to the other. I don't just mean top of the loaf remains facing the same way, I mean the cut sides of the slices remain facing the slice they were originally cut from. I told my fiance about this ridiculousness, and he said no. I see her point, and now I have to regularly have conversations about which way bread is facing. I'm a counselor with teenagers and kids. A school staff member dragged these 2 teens into my office one day, a boy and a girl. Both were clearly upset, but definitely didn't want to talk about it with me. You could have cut the tension with a knife as they sat frozen in their chairs staring at the floor. I saw them and thought, oh, she's pregnant. I'm trying not to panic at how to handle the situation as I finally get them talking, and it turns out they were just fighting because he sent a text to some girl. A text. At least she wasn't pregnant. I'm not a marriage counselor, but I'm in school to be a mental health counselor at the moment. My professor has worked in the field for over 30 years, and we asked him this question at one point. He answered something like this: there is no stupid reason to seek out counseling. What may seem trivial to one person can completely consume another person. What may seem insignificant to you might just be the last straw for a client. It's our job to figure out why that stupid reason caused them to land in your care. Sometimes it's a lot of minor things that build up because they don't have any good coping mechanisms. Sometimes it's a major problem that they don't want to talk about, so they start small. Sometimes it's something they don't even realize is a problem, but is causing them distress regardless. There's a lot of reasons why clients might present you with something that seems completely insignificant, but the fact is, they are in front of you, paying you money, so that you can help them improve their mental health 99% of the time. That means that they believe getting help is worth their time and money. He then proceeded to tell us a story about a woman who believed that Ashton Kutcher was her baby's daddy, and she wanted a psychiatric professional to verify her mental health, so she could file for child support and reconnect with him. As far as he could tell, she had never met Ashton Kutcher, or even seen him in person. So sometimes people are crazy, but not usually.